I've never told this story online before, and have told only close friends and family to me, mostly because people tend to laugh when it starts with a man dressed as Santa. But it's been nearly a decade now since this happened, and I still can't look at men in Santa suits without my stomach tightening. Even now, during Christmas, I try to avoid them when I see them out around the holidays. This happened to me when I was 17. I grew up in a small town, and through the holidays, Christmas decorations went straight up after Thanksgiving and came down sometime mid-January. That year, my parents asked me to take my little brother to the mall so they could finish wrapping gifts in peace. He was 7 at the time, still very much in the phase of believing in Santa, writing letters, leaving cookies out, the whole thing. The mall was about 20 minutes away, and it was packed, Christmas music on repeat through the stores, artificial trees scattered everywhere, and the air smelled like cinnamon and hot chocolate. I remember feeling vaguely annoyed by the busyness. You know, everyone goes hectic around that time of year, but I know that's what's normal. We had just come out of a toy store when my brother suddenly stopped walking and yelled out, "Santa!" That's when I looked up from my phone and saw him. He wasn't sitting in one of those official grottos. No velvet rope. No line of parents holding phones. He was just standing there, near the food court entrance. Full Santa suit, red coat, white trim, black boots, belt pulled tight. His fake beard was thick and slightly lopsided. He noticed my brother immediately and smiled. "Well, hello there," he said, his voice low and gravelly. Then he asked the usual, "And what do you want for Christmas?" My brother lit up. He started rambling about a new game he wanted, and a dog and a bike, and the Santa laughed softly, nodding, playing along perfectly. I remember relaxing a bit. Lots of people dressed up around Christmas for charity, to entertain, or like this one, work at malls. As I got closer to my brother, it was then his attention shifted to me. His eyes lit up as he then asked me, "Oh, and what about you?" I just smiled politely and said that I was okay. He interrupted me. "Come on, you can tell Santa anything you want," he said, tilting his head slightly. His eyes lingered on me, longer than they should have. "Especially when you look like you've been very good this year." Something about the way he said good made my skin crawl. I laughed awkwardly, the way you do when you're trying not to make a scene. I looked down at my brother and told him we should get going, placing a hand on his shoulder, but Santa didn't move. He then asked again, "Come on, what would a pretty thing like you want for Christmas? You don't look like the type who needs toys. Maybe something else." My brother was still smiling, oblivious to the creepiness of that guy. I wasn't. I said again, "We have to go," firmer the second time as I guided my brother away. The Santa chuckled, leaning slightly closer. I could smell him then, the smell of stale cigarettes and something sour underneath. What he said next, and the way his voice dropped to be quiet, really made me feel sick. "You know, some girls are the present. I wouldn't mind unwrapping you myself." My stomach dropped. I yanked my brother's hand and started walking, not caring that he protested. I didn't look back at first, I just wanted distance. But halfway down the hall, something made me turn. The Santa was still there. Not waving, not smiling, just watching us. His head followed our movements until the crowd swallowed us completely. I should have reported him to mall management at the time, but I just didn't think. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. I rushed my brother through the rest of the mall, bought him a pretzel to keep him happy, and avoided every red flash of fabric I saw. When we finally left, I felt relief wash over me the second we got into the car. I told myself I was overreacting, but I'd wished I trusted my instincts more. That evening, after I dropped my brother home before heading back out to a friend's, when I was heading back home I started to feel it. That sensation of being watched. It's hard to explain unless you felt it yourself. That prickling at the back of your neck. I checked my mirrors constantly. About a block from my house, a car slowed behind me. It didn't honk. It didn't pass. It just stayed there, headlights dim. When I turned onto my street, it followed. I felt like it mirrored my directions, but as I pulled into my driveway quickly, the car rolled past my house. I watched it disappear down the street, telling myself again that I was being paranoid. Inside, my parents were watching TV. When they'd asked earlier in the afternoon about the mall, I hadn't told them about the Santa. I didn't want to sound dramatic. I went to my room, locked my door, and just chilled out. Later that night, when I'd gotten ready for bed, I was just starting to drift off when I heard it. A distinct sound, like metal tapping against glass. I froze. Then came a faint metallic click from my window. My bedroom was on the second floor and it faced the side of the yard, partially obscured by an old oak tree. My breath felt trapped in my chest as I slowly sat up in bed. Another sound. Pressure this time, like the window frame moved. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking, and stood up. As much as I didn't want to, I made my way over to look, and as I pulled the curtain back an inch, someone was right there. Someone dressed as Santa. His face was inches from the glass, eyes wide and unblinking. One gloved hand was wedged under the window frame, trying to pry it open. The other steadied him against the wall. For a second, neither of us moved. I felt like I was frozen. Then his eyes met mine, and I recognized them immediately. The same eyes from the mall Santa. It was him! I screamed. I don't remember what I yelled, only that it was loud enough to wake the house. The man's expression changed instantly. His smile vanished. He yanked his hand back and dropped out of sight. My parents burst into my room seconds later. As I screamed, there was a man at my window dressed in a Santa costume. My dad ran outside, while my mum called the police. I stood there shaking, unable to speak. My dad found footprints in the dirt below my window, heavy boot prints leading around the side of the house, and then gone. The police took it seriously. When I told them about the mall Santa, they said they'd look into it. The next day, an officer came back. What he told us made my stomach turn. He told us the mall had no record of a Santa working there, and that they had not hired a Santa. No hire, no costume performer, nothing. They reviewed security footage. There was a man in a Santa suit wandering the mall, but no one knew who he was. No clear face, no identification. They never found him. I'm in my 20s now. Every Christmas, when I see a Santa waving at kids, I still look at his eyes first, because sometimes all it takes is one look to know something is very, very wrong. What I learned was to be aware of my surroundings. As he obviously followed me back to know where I lived, it pays to always be switched on. Merry Christmas. This happened in December of 2022, when I was 19. I had taken up a Christmas temp job while I was back home from uni. When it comes to the UK, we don't really get great picturesque snow at winter. More so grey skies and dark rainy nights. Well, where I'm from anyway. So I had taken up a delivery job for Deliveroo. My friend recommended me the job as he was doing the same thing at the time. It was a great way to make some extra cash while I was back home and bored in the holidays, knowing I would need the money when I was back at uni. It was a great setup for me. I could work when I wanted and could accept jobs I wanted through my profile, set up all through an app. Most of the time I decided to work late evenings as I was a night owl, as it was. And to be fair, that's when a load of jobs would pop up. One night I was bored, not having much to do. My friend who told me about the job was out delivering, so I decided to log in and accept some jobs myself. The weather that night was not the best, with it raining heavily, but typically you would find yourself making more money on those nights, as nobody wants to leave the house in that weather when they can get things delivered. So having that in mind, I hit the road and kept an eye on available jobs. The first few jobs that came in were pretty local, so with the weather conditions, at least I wasn't travelling too far on my moped. I didn't really have a time frame in mind, but after a few hours I was getting bored, and thought about calling it a night. But, before I did, one more order came up that I decided to accept. So I picked up the food and headed for the address displayed. Just for some context, I'm from further up north in the UK and don't live in a city. I live in a town surrounded by countryside. So often when travelling, you drive down lots of country lanes. And this ended up being one of those jobs. As I drove to the location, I came out of the main town and ended up driving down some country lanes. Typical, I thought, with it being the last job that I decided to take when all others were around town. As I drove down the dark lanes, I battled to see through the rain. But as I followed the navigation to the address, I could finally see I was getting closer to it. As I approached, it told me to take a hard left straight ahead. So as I slowly approached, I saw that when I got to the turning, there was a gate blocking the way. Stopping and pulling up to the gate, I got off my moped to take a better look. As I looked beyond the gate, I could see that it was another lane that clearly led to a property, where the sat-nav was directing me. I looked to see if I could open the gate, but it had a padlock on it, so there was no chance of opening it, or getting my moped around it. Annoyed and just wanting to get the delivery done, I pulled up my moped and grabbed the food from the back, deciding to hop the gate and walk down the lane as I could see that it was only a few minutes up ahead. I know that decision sounds stupid, but at the time I didn't want a bad review as I wanted to keep the job. As I walked down the lane following my phone, I slowly began to reach where the destination for the drop-off was. But the closer I got, I couldn't see any house. I continued to walk ahead as I approached the destination. As I did, I could only see a trailer straight ahead. It looked to be unoccupied. The lights were off and it looked like no one was there. To be honest, it looked abandoned. But this was where the destination for the delivery led me, and there was nothing else or no other home around. I didn't really know what to do. I remember thinking this trailer home was either it or it must have been wrong somehow. Just wanting to be done with the job, I decided to approach the trailer, as much as I didn't want to, and found it strange. I was only thinking of getting the job done and getting out of there. What I should have been thinking, though, was to be more cautious. As I reached the door, I knocked, but as my knuckles hit the door, it caused the door to slowly push open. I stepped back thinking, what the hell, as it opened up to darkness. It was then I could hear the sound of music playing from a speaker. I had heard the music before, but I didn't know what it was called. But I knew it was always played around the holidays, and honestly, it was unsettling and creepy. For some stupid reason, I didn't just turn around and leave right then. Instead, not thinking straight, I called out, saying, "Hello?" and that I had a food delivery. In that moment, I heard a creak coming from inside the trailer, but I couldn't see anyone coming to sight. Looking around, I began to feel very on edge, as if someone was watching me. And as I looked over to the tree lining just over from the trailer and where I was, my eyes locked onto a figure standing in the distance. My heart began to race as whoever it was stood there, motionless, watching me. Hearing the creak coming from the trailer again, my eyes darted back to the door, and in that moment I felt fear like I'd never felt before, as the outline of another dark figure stood inside the doorway of the trailer, as a shiny object glistened in its hand. I instantly knew what the person was holding, and fearing for my life, I dropped the bag I was carrying and bolted running back down the lane as fast as my legs would take me. Unable to help myself, I looked back to see two figures slowly following me. I couldn't get to the gate fast enough, and as I reached it, I threw myself over it, scrambling for my keys, as I jumped on my moped, hightailing it out of there. I had never driven so fast. Even in those poor weather conditions, I didn't stop until I got back into the familiar surroundings of town. I called my friend, telling him what had just happened to me on the job. He didn't believe what I was telling him, which really annoyed me. I ended up calling the police and reporting what had happened, as they told me they would send someone out to investigate. I reported the job to the company as well to see if they could track who placed the order. The police did investigate, and what they found was the trailer, just like I'd thought it looked, abandoned. After the police hit a dead end, and the company finding fake details of a name that the order was placed under, no one was ever apprehended. What happened may have been a fucked up prank, or it could have been something more sinister. I don't know, and I don't want to know. After that night, I never took another delivery job again, and that will always be one Christmas that stays with me. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this festive video and are enjoying the holiday season. You see, terrifying encounters can happen no matter what time of year. As always guys, if you like this video, please like and share. It really helps us out. And comment what you would do in these situations. If you're new here, or haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for more horror content. We really appreciate it. Have a great Christmas guys. And remember, fear lies within.